You're listening to The Brown Couch Show, a podcast that inspires, challenges, and keeps it real. This is where we unpack the raw, the gritty, and everything in between. No fluff, just real talk about real life. I'm Brandon Andrew. Most people just call me B. As someone who has walked through addiction, battled demons, and came out on the other side with a story worth sharing, I'm here now to reach those who feel unseen, unheard, or unsure of their place in this world. This podcast is all about helping you become unapologetically you, to inspire you to dig deep, grow your self-worth, and realize that even in the messiest chapters of your life can lead to the most powerful stories of all time. Sit back, relax, and enjoy The Brown Couch Show. What is up, you beautifully broken, trying your best motherfuckers? Welcome back to another episode of The Brown Couch Show. I am your host, Brandon Andrew, but most people call me B. Today we're going to be talking about something that has been riding shotgun with me since I have put the bottle down. And that something is anxiety. I'm talking about that tight in the chest, doomsday's around the corner, heart racing at midnight anxiety. And I just want to let you guys know a little secret. It does not go away after you put the drugs in the bottle down. Now you're probably asking me, Brandon, what the fuck does that even mean? Well, it's simple. When you put the alcohol and the drugs down, shit doesn't disappear. It literally just gets worse. I want to start off today's show with a little bit of an analogy I kind of saw on Facebook this morning. I thought it was perfect and it would kind of fit my episode and the subject and kind of the content that's going to be talked about along the way in this episode. So with that being said, I will show you this analogy and then we'll kind of jump into the rest of the episode. It does require me to have a glass empty and a glass full of water. I couldn't find a regular solo cup, so I thought what would be better to represent the shitty and ironically funny past with a ginormous plastic solo cup. Anyways, so you can hold the glass and it's pretty light, it doesn't weigh much. And this is going to kind of explain why you do not hold on to your anxiety and your stressors or anything that over time is going to warp your emotions, your personality, and just who you are as a person. So this demonstration, I start with an empty glass, and I'll fill the glass, we'll say all the way, as much as I can get in there. Now for 1 minute of holding this, it still feels about the same. It's not heavier, it's not lighter, it's not harder to hold by any means. But I bet after an hour or so of holding this, I would start to realize that my arm's starting to feel a little shaky. It's starting to give out a little bit. It's not trusting itself as much. But I can almost guarantee you that after about 12 hours, I'm going to start feeling the burn. My arm's probably going to go numb. I'm going to be starting to get a little paralyzed in my joints and my tendons. And if I were to hold on to this cup for an entire 24 hours, my arm just may fail, give out, and probably be deemed useless after a 24-hour period of trying to hold an item like this. And I think that just goes to show, that's exactly what we do with our anxiety. We hold on to it. We think that, tomorrow's going to be a little better. I'm not going to worry about it today. We'll just put it off. But then another anxiety comes, and it just starts to stack and stack and stack until you're finally left with this feeling of just explosion. And you don't know how to behave, you don't know how to release your emotions, you don't know how to interact with other people, and it just becomes crippling. It really just becomes crippling, and your quality of life goes down. For the longest, I literally used drugs and alcohol to rid that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of uncertainty and nervousness. And along with the addiction aspect of everything, it just created a detrimental coping method. Putting the bottle down and the drugs down, it doesn't get rid of the anxiety. It just, if anything, it exposes it. And your brain and your body is going to keep the score. You may not notice the score 1, 2, 3 months, 1, 2, 3 years along your recovery journey, but you will start to notice that your body and your brain took a toll. And what do I mean by that? I mean the years of trauma, the late nights, the panics, the cold sweats. They don't just vanish when you sober up. They come back to haunt you. And I get really fucking pissed when I hear people saying, oh, you're sober. Everything should be easy now. Anxiety should be gone. You should be smooth sailing back to normal like a normal human being. You lose. That's not how it works. What, you expect me to be grateful and calm now that I'm clean? If anything, I feel more fragile than I did when I was using. I remember one of the most first and scariest bouts of anxiety entering the sober world, and what it kind of all felt like and how I handled the situation, if you will. So after being sober for a few months, I kind of moved back into my house. I was staying with my parents after rehab for a little bit, just to make sure that I didn't fall back into the wrong cycle, the wrong routine, and just to keep my head on straight while I battled my health issues. So once I kind of moved back into my house, I did venture out, and I wanted to go try things. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to experience life normally, like a normal person, not fucked up every second of the day. And I remember going out to my parents' house. They had a little camper out in bumfuck nowhere. And at first I always thought like, oh, this is going to be such a great escape. Like, I'm going to go, I'm going to get away from the city, I'm going to get away from people, I'm going to get away from the things that kind of tempt me or make me feel some type of way. But I was fucking wrong, dude. There's lots of people at campgrounds. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's not just a couple people that camp. There's entire families that go camping with each other, and I guess I didn't think that through before going out there and jumping right back into normal world activities. But I just remember that overwhelming sense of being anxiety ridden every single time I had to come in contact with a person. Every time I had to speak, it felt like I was just stumbling over my words. During the middle of my sentence, I would just blank out. I would freeze and I would literally forget what I was talking about. So much so that it literally became embarrassing. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to see anybody. And I'll never forget just how I dealt with that. And I just remember trying to avoid people and, act like everything was cool and smile and do the little wave that you do. But I'm literally telling you this story just to kind of show you that anxiety can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Anxiety and other emotions and mental health issues, they don't discriminate. They really don't. I used to be a person that had no anxiety issues at all. My confidence was through the roof, and I just felt like I was untouchable. I was invincible. And that wasn't just the alcohol and the drugs speaking. That was just because I've learned how to survive so long on my own with minimal resources. I kind of just developed this mindset that I was just great at everything, and nothing could derail that. So when I was really thrown into that challenging aspect of life as a newly sober person, it was a lot to take on. And then not to mention, there's people drinking and smoking and doing things that not too long ago I was just doing and really enjoying. So I'm having to pretend like it doesn't affect me or it doesn't bother me. And I'm just like, oh yeah, like I did it to myself and this, that, and... But the whole time in my head, I'm just like, oh my fucking God, dude. Like, are you serious right now? Like, are you serious? So it was pretty much that life event that kind of threw anxiety at me full force for the first time. So much so that when I actually came home, I began to have these heart flutters, and I didn't know what they were for. I would get through the whole day, and then all of a sudden, I would just be sitting on my couch, and my heart rate would shoot up to 160, and I would start sweating. My hands and feet would start tingling, and I literally did not know what was going on. And it was really scary. I thought I was getting heart issues, and I started to get more anxiety because with my cirrhosis of the liver helping function almost 90% of your other organs, I think every time I have a problem it's my liver that's fucking everything up for me. And that alone in itself gives me more anxiety every single day. I mean, if I even get a headache, or if I get a cramp in my side, or if I stub my toe, I literally go to the worst corner of my brain to try to decipher what's going on. And it usually turns into me saying, oh, I'm probably dying. I'm not going to make it through this. And that's where anxiety sets in. Now, like I said in the beginning, anxiety is a bitch and it does not go away. But there are things that you can do to cope and manage that anxiety before you become crippled and paralyzed in your everyday life and just lose that overall quality of your life. And I'll be honest, I didn't know anything when I got sober. I didn't know any kind of coping methods. I had a few ideas of kind of how to entertain myself, like video games or dicking around on my phone. So, one of the ways I kind of started coping was I turned to growing and caring for plants. Started off with me just getting a couple little tiny plants here and there. And I absolutely loved the process of repotting them, pruning them, making sure that everything just was all perfect with this plant. And in a way, I kind of symbolized it with my own life, the basic care routine and way you look after a plant can really be incorporated into your everyday life and your recovery journey. And I think I grasped that really quick, and so I did something with it. I started these little TikToks where I would do live streams explaining the basics of plants and how to care for them and how you can correlate that to your own self-growth. And that was just one of the many ways that I kind of used to cope. It took up time, and that is the key thing that you want to take up and fill is time. You don't want to have time for anything. You don't want to have time to think about the wrong things. You don't want to have time to go do the wrong things. You don't want to have time to see the wrong people. The less time you give yourself, the better. I promise you on everything. Find a hobby, find a healthy addiction. You will be mesmerized at the level of escape you can get from something like that. And now you're like, B, I don't fuck with plants like that. I never have, I never will. I'm not a green thumb. What the hell are you talking about? That's okay. There's literally plenty of other ways, and I'm just going to touch base on a few with you right now. The number one best thing I can recommend doing, do breathing techniques. I do some of these every day, and I almost swear by them. Every time I can kind of feel that anxiety coming up my spine, or kind of feel that tingling sensation in my fingers, instantly I go to the box breathing method, where I inhale for 4, exhale for 4, inhale for 4, exhale for 4. And you just keep repeating that, counting the numbers in your head almost like a mantra, so much so that your brain kind of just focuses on solely breathing, and you kind of don't have the chance, like I said, the time to think about anything negative. Another thing I like to really do is say it out loud. You would be surprised with what saying it out loud and just getting it out there on the table feels like. And I don't mean you have to go talk to a fucking shrink. No. Literally call your friend, call your family, call somebody that you work with, and just shoot the shit with them. And you don't have to sugarcoat shit. Tell them straight how it is. Hey, here's what's going on. I'm not well, and I need to talk. Depending on how they respond to that, that will let you know exactly who they are and if they need to be a part of your life any further. Now, those are the main two that I really like to do, but there are several others. Some of the other less common things you can do is move the energy. Get up, do a little dance, take a little walk, play a musical instrument. Just do something around your house that kind of gets you up and just moving your energy, not sitting stagnant and collecting all that doom and that negative energy. This one is actually very important. Know your triggers. If you don't know your triggers, you don't know shit. You do not know a thing about yourself. If you do not know that you can't walk outside and see Joe Schmo smoking a cigarette because it makes you want to drink, you don't know your triggers. You won't be able to recover. You will not be able to help yourself. Know your triggers, write them down, talk to somebody about them, and develop a plan for when you realize those triggers occurring in your everyday life. And sometimes you just have to learn to sit in the fire or on the couch, so to speak. And sometimes that could be just sitting in silence, meditating, thinking positive thoughts, reevaluating, and hopefully coming to an epiphany. Not every feeling needs to be fixed. It is okay to sit and dwell and think and kind of ponder on what is going on in your brain. Meditate on it, sleep on it, think about it a little bit. Take time just being okay not being okay. That's okay too. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, anxiety doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're doing sobriety wrong. It just means you're human and that you're healing. You've stripped away your crutches and you're basically learning how to walk again. Limping through some days, sprinting through others. You just gotta find a happy medium. And if you're literally out there white knuckling it with anxiety, I see you, I am you, and you are not alone. And there is definitely a seat on this couch for you. That is all we have today for the third ever episode of the Brown Couch Show. I really appreciated you guys being along for another episode. And if this podcast made you feel any type of way or you took anything away from it, I'd really encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And even if you don't find the content that useful or helpful, I'd really appreciate that you just throw me a like or something. It helps the algorithm. And I'll be honest, I have this tendency to start things and get good at it a little bit and then stop them. But I really feel like if I have some people kind of on board and this kind of deems itself to be a viable means of recovery and addiction information, I think just seeing that people are on board, engaging, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff, I think it'll just encourage me to want to keep doing this and reaching people. With that being said, I will see you next time on the Brown Couch Show.